Hey everybody, welcome to another review. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. I was going to say another Demon Souls remake review for the PS5 or video, but this one I kind of want to cover a lot of different topics. I'm going to give you my review and thoughts on the game after playing almost 170 hours on it. And I also want to integrate into this review sort of my thoughts on the PlayStation 5 Dualsense controller and the Pulse 3D headset. Because I think playing a game like this with the Pulse 3D headset and of course with the controller really adds so much to the experience that wasn't there with the PlayStation 3 original, and the totality of it kind of makes for the it kind of really impacts the review. So I'm going to start off by just getting back into soul form. I like to kind of, while I'm talking, go and play some of the other levels, and I'm on New Game plus 14, I think. And when you're on New Game plus 14, if you're not, concentrating, you can definitely still die very quickly. And I don't want to die in body form, which would affect my world tendency, which I have spent so much time sort of, making sure it's nice and perfect and pure white for the next cycle, should I want to start over. I was a little waste, of course. I can have just jumped into the pit in the center of the floor instead of doing this climb. But muscle memory is hard to shake. Okay, so let's talk about. I think I like to start by just talking about the Pulse 3D headset, and then I'll go in and talk a little bit more about the game as well as everything to do with the game, including kind of how the controller integrates and how everything integrates. So I just managed to get the Pulse 3D headset yesterday, charged it up, and I began to use it. Overall, my impressions are very favorable. I don't normally, I don't normally game with a headset on. I tend to just, play by myself, so the headset is not quite as important. But in general, the first thing I like to mention is that it's very comfortable. So I put it on my head, and it took me a few seconds to get it together. It's very light, and it's just very comfortable. Like I can easily play like hours without really feeling any problems, on my ears, on my head. There's no weight issues. I just mentioned this because I have previously bought a headset, with it's like a wired headset, so it's not wireless. And I had done it specifically because I wanted to record voice while I was playing Killzone Shadowfall for my PS4, and I wanted to use a capture card, and so I used the wired connection to attach it to the AverMedia capture card. And unfortunately, that capture card does not have a wireless option. You have to, physically plug in your microphone and your headset to the actual AverMedia, capture card in order to record voice while you play in real time. Otherwise, you would have to do it, secondarily on the PC. So I bought that headset just to let me sort of, begin working with my capture card, and it was just very heavy. I mean, it was an okay headset, but it just felt extremely heavy, and just after even a few hours, I could definitely, feel it on my head. I was getting sweaty. If you can believe it, I actually played 5 hours of Killzone Shadowfall on an elite single segment playthrough for 5 hours, and it was just I was a mess at the end of that marathon session. And so the Pulse 3D headset is worlds better, just very very light. Sometimes I even forget that it's there, and that's kind of the what you really want from a headset for long gaming sessions is so comfortable and so light that you even forget that it's there. So number one, comfort is really important. I have normal ears, so I don't have excessively large ears or anything like that. And the cups fit over me very nicely, very soft, very comfortable. So very happy with that. Now, in terms of the audio quality, now this is a $99 pair of headphones, and so unless you're like an audiophile or something like that, um, I don't know, what the expectation is for audio quality, but as far as playing Demon Souls, I can hear every little thing. The bass is very good when I'm smashing, the wood here, smashing the environment. When I'm rolling, everything comes through crystal clear, through the headphones. So I have no real complaints about it. I mean, I guess if you buy like a $300 or $400, wireless headset, maybe it's going to be a little bit better. But I'm very satisfied with the quality that I have here. It's, in my opinion, just as good, if not better, than the headset I bought, previously. Now, the thing about the Pulse 3D headset that really, I think, makes it worth its weight in gold, so to speak, is that it has that 3D. It's part of the name, the Pulse 3D headset. It's got that 3D, software, and it's optimized to work with PlayStation 5 games that have it encoded into their game, where the software supports it. And you can get the same type of thing from other headsets, but I think that the Pulse 3D is uniquely optimized for it, and it just sounds a little bit nicer, a little bit better. And by 3D, I just mean immersive audio. You feel like there's things coming at you from all around you. There's directionality, and it's really neat. It really does add to sort of the immersion of the game. And when you're like in, for instance, the Valley of Defilement, you can actually hear, especially for games where they're coming at you from all these different directions. It's really important, and it does actually play a role in the game itself, where you can actually, listen. You can tell they're coming from the right, from behind you. Especially for the Valley of Defilement, where there's like defilements all over the place. It's a big level. It's a really big level, and you sometimes lose track, frankly, of where everybody is. That 3D sound is great, and then of course for boss battles, for effects, it just is amazing. So definitely it's something that adds a tremendous amount to the gameplay for the games that support it. And not all games support it, but the PlayStation 5 exclusives like a Miles Morales or a Demon Souls Remake, or even the Astro's Playroom, that support it, it definitely is a big game changer. And with that in mind, the Pulse 3D, at least for me, really does sound better. The 3D really does sound better than the other headset that I have. Now, again, if you buy like a top of the line, maybe $300, $400 wireless headset, maybe it will have the same thing. And I think that they are on the market and they do support the 3D encode. But at least when comparing the one I bought, and I didn't like cheap out. I mean, the one I spent at least a good $60 $70 on my wired headset. So it wasn't like, a cheap one by any stretch of the imagination, in my opinion. This Pulse 3D headset definitely sounds a lot better than the wired version. The directionality is much more clear, and the quality is a lot better. So that's like number one, right? The 3D effects, and the fact it's optimized for the PlayStation 5 games. And then finally, because this is a Sony product, and it's uniquely, manufacturers created to work with the PS5, there's also just nice little quality of life, perks. And what I mean by that is when you hook it up, it's very easy. There's a USB dongle. You plug it into the back of the PS5 or any USB port. And then when you turn on the headset and you turn on the PS5, it just boom, it's automatic. It immediately pairs. It works right out of the box. There's literally zero lag. It works perfectly. The quality is deep, immersive, and it gives you an immediate reading on how much power is in the headset. So you can see the battery life. It shows up on the home screen. You can check it anytime. I'll give you an example, like right over here. You can go to accessories, and it just shows you right there USB headset, and it shows you the power. So those are nice little convenient things that you have. And it might not seem like much, but it is nice to have that. It's very convenient. You can't knock too much, I think, the connectivity and the ease of use. So as far as that goes, I think that the Pulse 3D headset for $99 and change is a no-brainer. I mean, I do plan on playing most of my future games with the headset on. And again, I don't normally do that. For most of my gaming life, which is stretched back decades, all the way back to the NES days, I just basically played with the TV's volume, the TV sound, and that was fine. I was never like a huge fan of like Resident Evil or horror games, which I think this immersion would be amazing. But having now played, say, Demon Souls with it, and also with how comfortable the headset is, that's definitely going to change my gaming habit. I'm going to play essentially all of my PS5 games that support 3D audio with my headset, and I think it just adds so much to the experience. So that's my review of the Pulse 3D headset from Sony. I give it very, very high marks, and for the price, I think it's fantastic. I'm not going to show you, of course, the headset itself. There's plenty of videos that show that it's nothing, it's nothing unique. It has the same color scheme as the PS5 and the Dualsense. It integrates very nicely, and I don't see any point in showing the actual, unboxing or whatever. You don't need to see it on my head or whatnot. There is one thing just to add to it is the options for the headset. So all of the controls are on the left, the left side. And you have your normal basic stuff. You have a power on, you have a mute button, you have a volume up and down. You have a button which if you turn on, you can actually hear yourself and the ambient sounds. You have an idea of how strong your voice is. And then you have another button that changes or shifts between chat versus game. So you can increase the volume of the people that you're chatting with if you're playing multiplayer versus the in-game sound. And so that's quite nice. Another thing that I also like about this wireless headset is that the microphones are actually hidden inside the headset, which means you don't have the external microphone that, like those telephone operators or people who are on the phones all the time where you actually put it across your mouth. And my wired headset did have that. And I don't think that the quality or the mic quality is any less, even though it's hidden inside the headset. I'm quite pleased with that. I had done a rough review last night just to hear my voice, and it sounded perfectly fine. I do wonder how well it'll do with ambient sounds because, again, when I do these reviews, I'm doing it by myself, and so there's not a lot of distractions in the rest of the house. Optimally, you would like a situation where the mic only picks up your voice and it reduces the background. So there's a little bit of, say, noise cancellation, I guess, as far as that goes. But that might be a little bit much to ask for this. But as far as, again, quality of the mic, I think it works fine. And I, again, really like the fact that there's no external mic and it's integrated into the headset itself because it's just one less thing you have to flip up and down, one less thing you have to worry about. So it makes the whole experience a little bit sleeker, so to speak. All right, so moving along, I'm about to die here, so I'm just gonna go back and recharge. Let's talk about Demon's Souls Remake now, specifically speaking. So playing this game, you cannot separate it from the way you play it, okay? And so this is a remake, but the graphics are so stunning that it might as well be a completely new game. Blue Point has really done a just phenomenal job retexturing, redoing every single thing. And this game looks so good. And actually, just playing the game, you probably will not understand just how good it is until you go to, for instance, this mode, the camera mode, where you can actually, freeze frame or pause the game and just appreciate some of the like mad detail that goes into every single part of this, from the tower shield here to the blue blood sword and the armor of the ancient king, and you look around at the rubble and the texturing. It's basically stunning. And I don't know what else to say about the graphics and the sound other than the fact that this is, like, in my opinion, a true killer app for the system. My bias, and it might be outdated, But my bias is that if you're launching a new video game system, whether it's a PlayStation or Nintendo or whatnot, or Xbox, I feel to get that system like off to the right start and to, in a way, just justify the system. Like, why are we getting a PS5? Why do we need a Nintendo Switch? You have to make the case to the consumer that you're doing something that the previous generation cannot do. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways, of course, of approaching this. You can go the Nintendo route, where they're going to say, we're going to show you a new way of playing games. We're going to unlock a new paradigm, like they did with the Wii, where it was like video games for everyone from your 80-year-old grandmother to your 8-year-old kid from 8 to 80. They pick up the remote control. Everyone knows how to operate a remote control, right? Everyone's used that for the TV, and they made it just so accessible. And that was a very powerful paradigm shift. And they won, in my opinion, that generation, or they at least tied it by kind of selling, Wii's everywhere. I mean, it's one of the best-selling video game systems of all time. And there's plenty of, older people, again, older parents or grandparents, who bought the Wii system and did not buy any game other than the packaged Wii Sports. And that, again, kind of ties into packaging a game. Is like when you, show then that you're going to create a new system, you have to give us a game that continues to support the mission statement of the system. So Wii is like video games for everyone, and now we give you Wii Sports, which is the game that utilizes the controls, utilizes the unique interface, and proves that it is a game that anyone can play, again, from 80 to 8. And that's like a killer, it's like a killer app. We call it a killer app, which is basically a killer launch title for the new system. Similarly, for something like, say, Microsoft's original Xbox, they had Halo. Again, a game that showcases what the Xbox does. It had the multiplayer, it had beautiful graphics. Now, usually, Nintendo, of course, is a very different way of doing things. They're trying to revolutionize the way we think about games, the way we play games. They try to do that with a little bit less success with the Wii U, but then they refined it and gave us the Nintendo Switch, which has become an amazing success. And so they create games that, again, showcase that interactivity. Normally for Microsoft and PlayStation, when they create a new system, it's more centered around, I think, your home entertainment, meaning that, it wants to be the hub of your living room, and it spends a lot more time on video, like a graphical quality, graphics and sound, that type of thing, immersion, etc. So when you give me like a PlayStation 5, what you're basically telling me is that you're saying that you're going to give me a system that's going to set a new bar in graphical quality, a new bar in audio quality. You're going to advance gaming past the previous generation to a place where we haven't been before. Or else, truly, what is the point of creating a PS5? You could just stay with the PS4 or PS4 Pro, etc. And in order for you to prove that, I feel strongly you have to give me a video game. You have to give me a game that shows that. And so, for instance, here with Demon's Souls, the highest praise I can offer is that indeed you've given me a console game at a relatively reasonable price with just a graphical quality that does prove that this is a true next generation effort, that this is something that only a PS5 could handle. And the quality, the 4K, the resolution, all of these things, the 3D audio, all of this stuff together is now something that you could really replicate and make possible for like a PS4, even a PS4 Pro. Okay, I will leave aside the whole PC debate because that's kind of a complicated thing. Of course, PCs are very powerful, but you also have to spend quite a bit of money optimizing that. The interface is very different. It's just kind of a whole different world. So as far as consoles, I think that Demon's Souls, in terms of the graphics, is a true killer app for the PS5. And absolutely, if you want to buy a game that shows you why a PS5 exists, this is the game to have. Now, with that being said, how does it actually play? Well, the way it plays is essentially almost identical, other than some minor quality of life improvements. it's essentially identical to the original PlayStation 3 Demon's Souls. And Bluepoint has treated that game with a tremendous amount of respect. They've imported it sometimes even with the odd little bugs or little tiny skips. They've kept all of that intact because now, almost 7 or 8 years later, Demon Souls is widely acknowledged as a cult classic. It started the entire Souls universe with Dark Souls and Bloodborne, for instance, and Sekiro. It boosted From Software to fame, and so they treated this game with a great deal of respect, and it plays essentially the same. All of the bosses, it just of course looks amazingly better, but it plays the same. And within the context of that gameplay, of course, there's going to be some positives and negatives. Now, it is a very difficult game. It does take a little bit of getting used to. There is a learning curve. There should be no shame in going onto the internet and doing research, figuring out how to do certain things, understanding how to upgrade weapons, understanding where to go. There's a lot of customization involved. There's a lot of options you can do. You can build as a strength or dexterity. You can go magic or you can go faith. So it has a huge amount of replayability, a lot of customizability, and it's overwhelming for someone who's never played it before. For me, by the way, this was my very first Souls game, so it took me quite a few hours to kind of get used to the way the character moves, the sort of punishing difficulty, not making errors, understanding how to progress, and then of course getting into the getting into the sort of the knowledge of the game, how to do certain things, how best to proceed, how to tackle certain things. This is certainly a game that will give you your money's worth. If you decide, even if you decide to, do your research or spoil yourself, it's still going to give your money's worth. I spent 170 hours on this thing and counting, and can easily, envision myself playing more. And just kind of making just kind of playing around, experimenting with different things. So I think the greatest strength, if you want to talk about the gameplay, is again the variety of gameplay. And of course now that you have this remake, it just looks so good doing it. Watching YouTube videos of the original PS3, the graphics really were very stunted. And I don't know how enjoyable it would have been to die over and over again or to sort of grind with those graphics. But here, it's just such a joy to play, to watch, the character animations, to see all of these moves. So that does make a difference. I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way of the world, right? When a game looks good and feels good, you are more forgiving of the difficulty and some of the quirks of the game. I do admit that I was a little bit. I mean, it's just crazy. Look at the reflection on the puddles of water here. It's just crazy. Look at the little, as I'm walking through the puddles, look at the ripple effects. This is just astounding. Okay, just simply astounding. So, getting back to what my stream of thought, I was a little bit concerned that Demon's Souls Remake, unfortunately, was the only true PlayStation 5 exclusive. Miles Morales is also available on the PS4 in a much lesser form, granted, but still, you can play it on the PS4. And so Demon's Souls Remake is truly a game that you cannot play on any other console except the PS5. That's it. And it kind of made me think, wow, they're gonna take a niche, PlayStation 3 game, remake it to make it pretty, which that's fine, but it's so difficult. Is this going to work? Is this going to expand the PlayStation 5 user install base? Like, are people going to buy a PlayStation 5 just to play Demon's Souls and get murdered by like a Dreglin? Well, and I have my doubts, but after playing it and as one of those newbies, I have to say that yes, it worked. It did expand, and it does make me more likely to play other Souls games because of this. I was always intimidated, and I was like, do I have the time to waste on just getting into these Dark Souls stuff and grinding and all of it? But this game does show that there's a lot to it, and it's brought me into the Souls sort of universe. So for that, it did work. Now, some of the complaints I have about the game in terms of the mechanics is that I do feel like there's certain areas of the game or certain parts of the game mechanics that are difficult just for the sake of being annoying. For instance, they did add this really nice, tool belt with the gestures, and you can assign things to the tool belt, and you can do the photo mode where you can actually zoom in, you can pause, you can take pictures, and all of that stuff, which is good. But this is the only way to pause the game truly. And when you, for instance, go into the menu and you're like, trying to manipulate things and seeing what's going on with the inventory, you're not paused. You can literally die while you're in the sub menu. I find that sort of stuff, like, I know you're trying to make it hard, but I find that more a little bit like gimmicky and annoying rather than truly like difficulty I can respect. And I respect difficulty where it's puzzles, or it's a difficult boss, you're fighting a difficult boss. It's very punishing when you make a mistake. All of these things that Demon Souls has, I respect that. But this stuff is just kind of like seems cheap, to make it difficult like that. Another thing about this game is that it has like an autosave feature, which is tough. It does not allow you to save to individual files, and so when you're playing, it just automatically saves. If you die, too bad. There's no reloading from an earlier save or anything like that. It just automatically overwrites you, which I get, but again, it just feels almost like it's more annoying than anything else. The one way to get around that, of course, is you can get PS. If you have a PS Plus account, you can back up a save data on cloud, and that's a nice workaround because it's on cloud, and then if something happens to the regular hard drive of your regular game, you can always copy the cloud game to the hard drive. But that's sort of a workaround, right? More than a game mechanic. And I do feel like this game would have benefited from allowing you to create separate save files within the hard drive as part of the game itself without having to use the cloud workaround, so that it gives you a bit more leeway to experiment and to play around. Because here, like, you make one mistake, you screw up a character tendency, a world tendency, and you're basically screwed until the next cycle, which can take quite a while. So it really kills a lot of normal experimentation because you're afraid of just doing something that's going to waste you a whole lot of time. So that's one of my sort of critiques of this. Now, another thing that is interesting about the game is that they have actually done fractured mode, which means that Bluepoint has added a version where everything is mirrored. So it's like, it goes backwards. You can enter it by paying a certain amount of money, and you go to fractured world, and then everything's reversed. Your handedness is reversed. All the worlds are reversed. And you can use that in pure white and pure black to collect ceramic coins. If you collect all of the ceramic coins, you can then access a rusty key and use the key to get the penetrator armor, which is armor unique to the remake. So that adds a little bit of replay value to the game, which is appreciated. And of course, they gave you a reason to play through it. Now, in and of itself, there's also a lot of reasons to play the game again and again and go through multiple new games, because you have to use some of the boss's souls to learn different spells, upgrade different types of weapons. And so there is a lot of replay value throughout the game, baked into both the original and the remake. So that part is nice. Now, one of the things that I want to then talk about is that when you play this game, without the Post 3D headset, there's a big difference. We talked about that earlier. But when you're playing it with the Post 3D headset and you have the Dualsense, the Dualsense is an amazing controller. And this is, again, part of that next-gen feeling. It does show you and it makes you feel like the PlayStation 5 is truly a next-generation system with innovation that, is above and beyond the previous one. And this controller feels so good in my hands. I played 100 hours of Killzone Shadowfall speed running it with the PlayStation 4 controller, which is fine, but this DualSense is sort of like the next level up, a next level advancement of that. I would say not since maybe even the Rumble Pack, the N64 controller, have I really felt that there was such a amazing, improvement in controls, in the interface between the player and a game. They're able to sort of integrate movement in such a precise subtle fashion in the controller. So when you're moving, when you're casting spells, you can blow on it, and it creates things that can happen. Astro's Playroom gives you a lot more of how this controller can be made. It's got an internal gyroscope. You can move by shifting it around. It's an amazing controller from beginning to end. And I'll give you just one example. When I cast, for instance, warding, like so, and then you can hear it in the headset, and you can also feel this little, tiny, very subtle, like a rumble in the controller, and it's just that kind of haptic feedback that's quite amazing. It's almost indescribable unless you actually play it, and then when the warding finally disappears, the sound from the headset disappears. You can hear it kind of filtering off, and the feeling in the controller also sort of disappears. When you're doing sticky white slime or the pine resin, and you're putting it on your sword, again, you can almost feel the controller as if like something was being rubbed along the sword. There's this metallic feel. When you're in the Tower of Latria and there's that giant beating heart, you can feel it as an undercurrent throbbing in the controller. The controller is actually throbbing with a heartbeat in your hand. And you have like very, I think, crude versions of this type of effect in past generations, right? That's what the Rumble Pack for the N64 was. That's what other games like PlayStation 3 or 4, the controller will kind of rumble or vibrate. But nothing to the level of sophistication of the Dualsense, where like there'll be multiple things going on, and it truly feels like an extension of the game into your hand. And they are so clever in the way that they're using this and bring games to life. So I think that when you look at a game like Demon Souls Remake, you're looking at the graphical quality, you're looking at the audio quality, and then overlay the audio quality. You're looking at the 3D aspect of it, the encode that gives you that surround sound that immerses you, and then with the actual controller that's for playing, and the immersion from the controller. All of that put together creates a true like next gen feeling and a true killer app for the system. So that's sort of my review of Demon Souls. When you break it down, it's not a very long game. When you know what you're doing, you can go through all 5 worlds in probably comfortably like about 2 hours or 3 hours. If you're speedrunning, you can go even faster. But if you don't want to get anything, and you just want to beat the game and sort of enjoy things, it doesn't take long. It's a couple hours. But the game can extract over 150, 170, 200 more hours because of the replayability, because of different ways of getting things, because you want to try different things. You want to get different weapons. You want to play as a mage. You want to play as a thief. You want to play as a huge warrior. There's different weapons for each. So there's a lot of depth to the game that encourages that replayability. And of course, when you package it in such an amazingly beautiful package, and you also put in the headset and the controller, that's what I think makes this such a great game for the PlayStation 5. In my opinion, this is the best game for the PS5. It is a true exclusive and takes advantage of everything, and takes advantage of all of the things that this next gen has to offer all together. And I would be remiss in not mentioning the fact that I am recording this on the PS5 right now, and I'm going to be able to upload it to YouTube directly from the PS5 without using a capture card. Anything less than 1 hour is done automatically. And that's also another aspect of gaming in the Twitch streaming era, where they have made it very, very convenient for you to record clips or even longer types of videos and still allow you to upload directly. In the old days, you could only record like a few minutes at a time, and now we've gone all the way to 60 minutes, which is fantastic. And that's kind of again, it's reflective of the increased technology, the SSD hard drive, how fast it loads, which is, by the way, something I forgot to mention, is that it also loads within seconds, since you don't have to deal with the older loading screens of the PS3. Every shift, as you can see when you're going through, just loads within seconds, so that's amazing. The increased hard drive allows you now to, of course, record longer clips. And I'm hoping that once we are allowed to put in much larger SSD hard drives, that can also, there will be a software update that allows you to actually record longer than 1 hour. They remove the artificial 60-minute limit, and if you have the hard drive space, then go for it. You could put in 3 hour, 4 hour, as long as you got the hard drive, as a larger clip as you want. Because in my opinion, I would never use a capture card again. I wouldn't want to mess around with that. Do the capture card, go into a PC, have it edit it. Here, all the tools are really there for you, and for simple gaming clips and things like that, FAQs, reviews. It's just so much easier to do it this way. So, anyway, that's my overall kind of overall review of kind of what the PS5 brings, how I feel about it, the Dualsense controller, the Pulse 3D headset, and then of course the exclusive Demon's Souls remake together. So hope you enjoyed that, and those are my thoughts. And until next time, do take care. Bye bye.